I've been wanting to illustrate my book since I started writing it, but the problem is I can't seem to finish a painting. Like, I'm talking 90% of the paintings in my sketchbook are unfinished. So in this video, I'm giving myself one more try, and if I can finish it, I'm committing. But if I can't, I'm giving up. It's either going to be really fun or really stressful.
Hi, so to make sure I don't take a eternity on this painting, I'm going to try to fill out a entire spread in my sketchbook with a whole bunch of mini paintings. If you guys watched my junk journaling my book video, you will know I love collage, so this is a similar vibe to that. But I want to challenge myself to finish each painting in one day, which will hopefully keep the momentum going. So for my first illustration, I'm doing trees because I'm very familiar with that subject matter and it will help me ease myself into this whole process. So my reference photo really captured my imagination. It just really reminded me of a scene in my book, and I feel like I already get such an emotional attachment to my paintings, but knowing that I'm illustrating my own book is just a whole new level, and I think that definitely helped keep my momentum going. And I finished this painting in a couple hours and I felt great after it, so far so good. I started my next illustration after doing some research at a dairy farm for my book. It went really well, so I was feeling pretty excited and motivated to draw people, which is very rare for me because I only painted people a couple times in my life. But I came across this photo on Penelope's Pinterest board, and it was a dramatic hug in the gloomy day. I just knew I had to paint it. It just captures like the emotion and the intensity you feel in my book. Well, I hope people feel when they read my book. But I completely underestimated how hard clothes folding is, especially in watercolor, because you can't go over or fix really any mistakes you make in watercolor. And it's in those moments where I have no idea why I even paint with watercolor, and I really think it just comes down to convenience and how I'm lazy and it's easy to use. Well, not easy, but it's easy to bring places. And normally I would spend like 5 hours in like one sleeve alone and probably go over as a million layers of white gouache and completely ruin the watercolor effect. But since the challenge was to finish a painting every day, I knew I didn't have time for that. So I forced myself to keep going, even though every little mistake that you probably can't see but I can see is still kind of driving me crazy. I do want to address my filming. That's also another thing that's driving me crazy. But trying to film while you're trying to paint with literal water that dries very fast is very stressful, but it does get better as the video goes on. Right now I'm adding one of my very own quotes, but don't look at it too closely because there's plenty of misspelled words, even though I literally copied it down from my tablet. But what are you going to do about it? I have dyslexia, okay? Which is actually what the quote is about, so it's pretty on brand. And I was decently content with how it turned out, and somehow still pretty motivated. But when I came to this painting, that is when things started to go downhill. I am painting a fox in a dandelion field because number one, there's a fox in my book, and number two, dandelions are a big part of my book, and number three, the fox is named Dandelion. So it seemed like the perfect thing to add to the collage, but the excitement and the energy just wasn't there. It was just one of those things that I was doing to get it over with. And I don't think it was because of the painting. I think it was just my setup, because I was painting it on my couch in my living room where all my family was and they were watching TV. It was just very overstimulating. I definitely learned from this experience that my environment definitely affects how well I paint. But I do remember I was happy with it at the time and how I didn't overwork the watercolor. I was annoyed with my sketch marks I left, and also the oils in my hand I feel like really was affecting the way the watercolor was laying on the paper. But my setup was just too chaotic to really have control over that. Besides that, I do like how it looks very whimsical and very illustrational looking. I don't know how to explain that, but that's what I was going for. And at this point, my motivation was still there, but definitely beginning to slow down. Okay, it is officially day 4 of this challenge. I haven't worked on the painting for today yet, but don't worry, it's still early out, so I'm gonna get it done. But I just wanted to show you what it looks like so far. Ignore all the washi tape. I have to remove it still, but I haven't like filmed taking off the washi tape satisfying over here, so I gotta film that still. But yeah, it definitely still looks really rough right now. Hopefully I can make it come together. I mean, it always comes together with paintings, but I'm still a little bit worried. Yeah, I painted this box yesterday, and I think it looks pretty good. Well, if I'm being honest, I actually don't think it looks pretty good, but I only spent like 2 hours on it, and that's pretty much the goal of this challenge. Is to keep painting every single day and to destroy my perfectionism habits. And I think so far it's working. So I will update you when I have updates. Also, yes, my sketchbook is in very rough condition. Just ignore that, okay? It's loved. It's very loved. Wow, I sound a lot happier than I actually was. Okay, anyways, that night was a really rough night for me because I was feeling very lonely and very isolated because all my activities were canceled. And I just am a isolated person in general. And because I write and film and edit on my phone, I ran out of storage yet again. So I wasn't able to film my fourth painting, but you didn't miss much because it kind of was a disaster. And I ended up putting gouache over my watercolor painting, which I hate doing, but I did it anyway. So it became the first painting in this challenge. I wasn't able to finish in a day, and I didn't end up painting it again until that weekend. And that time I was painting at a coffee shop, which I think really helped me with locking in. This illustration doesn't really have a lot of meaning behind it, but I really just chose it because it was fun to paint, and I knew I just needed to have fun to be able to keep going on. Okay, so I feel like this is a very cliche, like, artist favorite, but I love the color paints gray. Also, the weather matched my painting, which was not planned, but definitely made it more fun. And at this point, my sister was already on her next crochet project, which is kind of just insane. I was having a lot of fun at this point, but I was really trying to make it look at the reference photo, which is a bad habit of mine, but I just can't get myself to stop. And I don't even want to talk about the stars. There were so many ways that could have made that process easier and better. But anyways, this is how much I got done at the coffee shop. And the next day when I sat down planning on fixing the stars, I was like, you know, I can do this a lot better. And I did it, but not better. It's okay. I just wasted like 5 hours of my life, but it's fine. Because I found this random mushroom I painted sometime in my life. And I've decided it needs to go in my sketchbook spread or whatever I'm calling it. And you know, looking back now, I do think my second attempt is better, but I don't end up choosing it to put in the sketchbook. I don't know. Anyways, sometime soon, don't remember what day it was, I started the next painting. After those 2 attempts of like overworking my watercolor, I felt like very prepared to paint something good. And I like how I did the eyes. I mean, I think I could have been a little bit more steady on the line work, but I do like them. But looking back at this footage now, I can see every spot where I messed up the layering with the watercolor. There is zero forgiveness when it comes to watercolor, so you need to be very focused when you are painting layers. And I wasn't, and I'm still just not comfortable with like skin tones, especially in watercolor, well, more so in gouache. Gouache, we are not friends. So it became my second painting I wasn't able to finish in a day. Okay, it has officially been a week since I started this challenge, and to be honest, I really want to give up. It's like, I can't even look at it. I think my problem is I like refuse to actually like be consistent with my colors, especially when I do like skin tones where you really need to be consistent. And I think it's because of laziness, but also like I feel like I either am a huge perfectionist when I'm painting, or I rush the process and like I'm kind of lazy when I paint, which has been the whole problem since the beginning. The beginning of this like challenge. I don't know. And I just want to quit. Like, I kind of hate these eyes, and like this one, it looks bad right now, but I'm gonna fix it with gouache. And I'm kind of disappointed in myself that I'm using gouache because I really wanted to only use watercolor in my watercolor paintings, and I have to go over and fix it everything. And I think I just need to take a break from this and like take a couple days off and then come back to it. But I'm also just afraid that I just won't start it up again. So this is really the reason why I started filming this like video, because it's keeping me accountable and hopefully gonna motivate me more to actually finish a painting. This sketchbook is about my book for like the first time. I don't know if that made sense. I'm kind of rambling right now. But I'm gonna go ice skating with my friends, and it's snowing out. It's beautiful out. I actually like look kind of cute for once, and like it's been a long time since I actually like put effort into my makeup and everything. So I will see you when I see you, and hopefully I can finish these eyes that kind of look like they are like staring into my soul, but like not in a good way, but like in a way that like makes me want to whip them out. I filmed like 15 more minutes of footage of me ranting about that, but I was being a touch dramatic, and I went to a coffee shop and I was able just to finish it there, and it wasn't that big of a deal. Also, shout out to my friend. She is so talented. Like, I'm surrounded by genius crocheters. Okay, we need to figure out where we are because I'm just getting confused. So at this point, it's been like a little bit under a month, I'm assuming anyways, and I finished 5 paintings and a half, give or take. And I officially failed the challenge of finishing a painting every day. It was just not practical. Don't know why I ever thought I could do that. And by some miracle, I still kind of sort of wanted to finish a painting. So probably like 3 weeks later, I started painting again, and I started at a coffee shop and then went to a library later. And I don't really go to libraries because I'm dyslexic, so I didn't know how perfect they are to like lock in and paint. Like, it's just so quiet There I started working on a photo of the Hobbit because James' character is really inspired by J.A. Tolkien. But I didn't have the white pen to make it look good, and I knew the only way for me to get the portions white is to spend like hours upon hours resketching it. So I started sketching future paintings instead that I knew I'd actually learn stuff from, which was a good call to keep my momentum going. So when I got home, I started the next painting. And at this point, I was editing all the edit footage, so I really knew where I messed up in the edit paintings. So I was ready to lock in and determined to not make the same mistakes. So I made sure my sketch was really clean looking and that I didn't have any background noise distracting me, and I could just concentrate on working wet and wet with the watercolor. Also, you saw earlier that I swatched my colors beforehand, which made me a lot more confident with my colors I was using, and overall just made the process so much easier. And I know to most artists, hands are your worst nightmare, and like painting them especially, but I actually had a blast, which I think just shows how much I have learned from this experience. I know that my light just turned off, but even when it looked ugly and I really wanted to add gouache, I was still trusting the process and just went to add the background colors and the final touches, which made it my favorite painting out of this whole collage. And I'm just so proud that I actually was able to trust myself and not add gouache. Then, since I was already locked in, I started working on a quick book painting. Nothing too special about this, but Penelope has dyslexia, so I had to include a book. And then the next day was Sunday, so I went to my grandma's house and I got a quick sketch slash painting of the treehouse. It's a very significant setting in my book. And with it being finished, I officially ran out of space in the spread, which meant I was officially done with all the painting elements, and all I have to do now is add the final touches of collage. When I decided I wanted to do this challenge, I didn't even have the intro film. I just knew I was so sick of calling myself an artist but not feeling like one. People assume if you're good at something, it means that you've always loved it. But that wasn't quite my experience. As soon as people started noticing my paintings and calling me gifted, there became this questioning pressure to always create something genius. I couldn't stand the thought of someone seeing an unfinished painting and thinking that that was all I was capable of. And something I spent my whole childhood loving became something I hated. Some of you are going to be annoyed with me, but I do think everything comes down to Jesus, because it wasn't until I got to know him when I learned that my worth doesn't come from how good my paintings are. But even now, I sometimes forget. And writing a book becomes less about sharing the gospel and spreading awareness to dyslexia, but more about publishing it in time for me to say that I'm a teen author. But after forcing myself to sit in silence, to keep painting, even when it looks terrible, even when I overwork the watercolor and I end up using gouache, reminded me that my worth still comes from Jesus, and only Jesus. And as I say that, I'm realizing Penelope's dyslexia and her desperation for people to see her artwork as genius is definitely a self-insert. But that story is not unique to me, and I think it's about time someone tells it. I hope you guys love the painting and follow along, because I am publishing that book.